Stella Artois. It's an easy drinking lager, popular in places like the UK, and it's brewed in Belgium. Let's brew it. Hi, I'm Martin Keane, and on this channel, Homebrew How To, we cover brewing tips, recipes and experiments. And in this video, we are brewing the favourite of the English bar, that is Stella Artois Lager. Now, I looked up the recipe for this, and what I could find said that this recipe comes pretty much from the brewery itself, unofficially, and it is like no recipe I've ever seen before because it has one grain and one hop. That is it. So let me bring in my graphic here, which normally shows you all of the different specialty grains you need, but instead I'm going to show you this very simple recipe. I'm brewing a 5.5 gallon batch. So for my base malt, I am using German Pilsner malt. That's 11 pounds of that. And for my hop, I'm using Saaz hops, 1.75 ounces of that in at 60 minutes and 0.5 ounces in at 5 minutes. That is it. Now, with a recipe like this, with no specialty grains, I'm assuming that most of the flavour is going to come from the yeast. The yeast I'm using is German Pilsner yeast. And yesterday I attempted to build a yeast starter. And that's why you add the dry malt extract before the boil. So, yeah, that didn't work out so well. I ended up going back to my regular method of just putting a pot on the burner and doing it that way. And you know what? I ended up destroying my glass Erlenmeyer flask. I don't know how it happened. I ended up cracking. You can see the crack along the bottom there. It's a pretty deep crack. So it was kind of an expensive mistake. But luckily I had a second flask lying around. I ended up using that. And that has been now fermenting for about 24 hours. So, with the yeast starter finally done, time to get to brewing. So the mash is 150 degrees, the recipe calls for 60 minutes. We don't put a lot of weight on that time. I just take a measurement partway through the mash and see where we are with the gravity, adjusting my hydrometer reading for the current temperature. And I can see that I'm reaching my target. My target pre-boil gravity is 1030 and I'm at 1031. That's after about 35 minutes of mashing, so I'm just cutting it there. And I'm going to do the mash out and then drain into my bottom kettle. Alright, so I've got a nice vigorous boil going inside there, and now it's time to add the hops. So this is the 60-minute hop edition, which is 1.75 ounces of Saaz hops. Thinking about how simple the ingredients are for this beer, it kind of makes a bit of a mockery of the advertising campaign that I grew up with for Stella Artois. Stella Artois, reassuringly expensive. This being a lager, I want it to be nice and clear, so I'm going to go overboard with the finings, hot side and cold side. So for hot side, well-flocked tablet, that goes in at 10 minutes. Now begins the cooling process. We want to get this down to 55 degrees. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that just using my plate chiller, but I'm going to get this as cold as possible. after primary fermentation was complete, I did move the beer into secondary and lagered for 4 weeks before kegging. The beer came out at 5%. Now, normally at this point, I would show you the beer and just do a taste on camera, but, well, I waited too long to do that. From kegging to now has been a week, and the keg has kicked. So all I can show you is a couple of thumbnails that I took earlier this week of the beer. Now, this beer is a smash beer, single malt and single hop. And you can really, I think, tell in the taste profile that that's the case. It's a pretty basic beer. We did try the beer, the Stella that I'd made, with an actual bottle of Stella Artois, and in terms of colour and taste, it wasn't so far different. But the one big difference was in aroma. Stella definitely has a very distinctive smell to it that I did not replicate at all in this beer. So perhaps if you were looking to change this recipe a bit, a different aroma hop might be something to consider. But overall, pretty pleased with this beer, and I think the fact that it has gone in a week probably speaks for itself. That's it. If you like these videos, just hit the subscribe button. We do plenty of these recipe and brew day type videos, and I will see you on the next one.